hunt for treasure, stacking them in piles. Hustling hard, making deals all day. Flipping finds, turning profit our way. Your Hustle Podcast guides our quest. Learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name. Reselling dreams, winning the game. Your Hustle Podcast guides our quest. Learning tricks to be the best. On eBay we make our name. Reselling dreams, winning the game.
Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Rolando, and we're on episode 456, a themed episode.
Yeah, that's right. And hopefully I shouldn't have any internet problems today. Thank you all who dealt with the live internet issues we had on our last live episode. It was pretty bad. I was dealing with just terrible internet stuff. I've got Starlink up finally. I installed it myself. That's that hustler mindset, right? I mean, I guess everyone pretty much usually installs Starlink themselves. Not too hard, but I mean, I wall fished the line and ran it through the attic. I did all the hardcore stuff, and it's working. So we should be good to go. And so again, thank you for all of you who are watching us live right now on YouTube. If you're listening to this on the podcast, we were live on YouTube. So please make sure to come on over, hit the like, subscribe, bell notification so that you don't miss when we go live. And today we're talking about some of the basics. We're talking about what should you be picking up? Because even seasoned resellers sometimes, they start picking up things maybe they shouldn't. They're not 100% sure what they should be picking up and where they should be focusing and what niches they should be in. So today we're going to be talking about what to pick up, how to know you're picking up the right niche, what works for you in your area. So yeah, I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, and I thought about this episode, and I was like, all right, is this too basic, right? Because sometimes, after 400 something episodes, we're like, hey, everybody that listens is probably an experienced reseller, and they probably have all the answers. But the reality is, everybody still has some things they can pick up. I still have things I need to realize, and maybe I need to go back to my roots sometimes, right? And we forget about things. So I thought this will work. This will be something that I think if you're an experienced reseller and if you're a brand new reseller, you're going to be like, hey, you know what? I didn't think about that, or I forgot about that, or yeah, you know what? That makes sense. So appreciate you guys all tuning in. Before we start, make sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification. I just want to talk to everybody in the chat here. Thanks, Rhythm J, for saying what's up, guys. Thanks for being here. Secondhand Solo, yeah. And we're I think you have a hustle of the week this week that we're sharing. And the Pug 3, thanks. Listing while listening. There you go. Getting some work done. Anik, always appreciate you being here with us. Thanks for everybody that joins us. I know this summer has been pretty tough, right? In the sense that like Mike and I, we've had a lot going on. We've been trying to resell, but we always want to keep pumping out episodes, right? I can't wait till we get to 500. I think 500 should be I wish it could be like a live show with a studio audience. Like, how cool would that be? It's not going to happen, but I think it would be pretty awesome.
Maybe we'll do a call-in show. I think I've been wanting to do one of those where we just throw our stream link, our StreamYard. We've done it in the Discord to specific people. But maybe we open it up a little bit more, let some people come on in, ask questions, those types of things. I think that'd be pretty fun.
Why don't we do it soon? I'll let you decide when, but
yeah, sounds good.
So, all right, so
let us know. Let us know in the comments below real quick. Do you want to do a live where you can join the stream link, maybe ask a question, say hello, maybe make a comment, share a bolo, share a hustle of the week, and then jump out? You're not stuck the whole episode type of thing. Let us know.
Wait, what does this mean? Or at least do one with canned laughter. What do you know what I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's like the when you're watching a sitcom and then all of a sudden in the background it's like it's I never noticed those canned laughters when I was a kid. But now when I watch like older shows and like you hear those or you watch a sitcom and it has that in there and it's like, I don't know. Those bug me now.
All right. Hey, I also want to say what's up to Flipping Timmy who joined us in the chat. All right, so let's get started. This is going to be the most basic basic thing to say. But when you're trying to figure out what to pick up for eBay, always look up solds. Always look up solds. And I got to tell you, some people, when you start brand new, like you listen to a podcast or you listen and watch somebody on YouTube, and you just don't realize it unless somebody points it out to you. So that's why I'm saying it right here on the podcast, because I remember my first few days of, well, I would say for a long time, I was like not reselling heavily, but I was picking up stuff at garage sales and I would list on eBay. But I didn't check out sold until a guy who had been selling on eBay, like he wasn't full time, but he took it pretty seriously. He said, you should kind of switch it to solds and completed solds. And I was like, why? He's like, because that's actually what the item is selling for. And that's how frequently it is selling for. And it seems so basic, right? But I think a lot of people miss it. And also the fact that you can lock those in so you don't always have to set it. Like it's already set on your app when you go out in the field and you're trying to find good stuff.
Yeah, that's the hack. The hack is setting it to the sold. But even still, you end up taking that off a lot. I feel like there's a lot of times where I'm looking, I want to see like how many competitors do I have? Am I buying this? Are there a lot of listings? Because you could find some good solds, and then you realize that there's a ton of listings, and a lot of the listings right now are cheaper than the recent comps. And so the lock is really good if it's something you forget to turn on, or that's where you spend most of your time. But yeah, checking the solds is really important. And I feel like this is the thing that most new resellers fall into, or even not even resellers, but just the normies, right? The people who aren't resellers, who believe those articles that are always on the clickbait of Yahoo, like Yahoo News, and it's on the bottom, or some random website where it's like Beanie Babies or Black Diamonds selling for $20,000. And of course, anything can be listed at any price. And even this is like just one step further on the tip on this. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a garage sale and the dreaded thing happens where they're like, well, what is this selling for on eBay? And they look it up, the person who's selling, and they look up and they start seeing, oh, look, these are listed for good money. A lot of times you can even show them, oh yeah, those are what they're listed for, but let me show you what they've sold for. And you can show them sold comps, because again, that's what the normies are thinking about. They're like, look, these are going on eBay for $100. And it's like, well, people are selling them on eBay for $100, but the sold comps are actually only about $50. That's what they're actually selling for. And so if I buy this, I've got to take pictures, I've got to list it, I've got to ship it. So I've got to get it for like $5 to $10 in order for this to be profitable for me. I know you see one that's listed for $100, but that does not mean that this is worth $100. And so even showing other people the sold comps when you're outsourcing can be a useful tactic.
No, agreed. And again, it sounds very basic, but I'm telling you, a lot of people just don't do it. Now, the second thing here is I strongly suggest that you start with what you know. And we talk later, we're going to talk about podcasts. And did I just unplug my camera? Can you still hear me, though?
We can hear you, but you can't see you.
Well, that's so weird. Like, what's going on? Well,
it happens, man. At least we can hear you. It's a podcast. It's fun. We got people watching right now, but they'll forgive you. Oh, it looks like he not only unplugged his camera, it looks like maybe he unplugged this whole computer there. Yeah, I said the normies. That's right, Rhythm J. Okay, so I'll pick up where Orlando left off there. So he said, start with what you know. This is, again, really good. This works for seasoned resellers, and it works for somebody new coming in. You really need to start with what you know, in that if you are already a sports card collector, or you're really into baseball and you're like, players, right? I don't really know much about any sports. I'm not a sports guy. So if I go to a thrift store or a garage sale and I see a jersey, I don't know, maybe if it's like a really popular, it's like, oh, this is a Michael Jordan jersey or a Kobe Bryant jersey, I'm going to know those. But if it's like a current basketball or baseball player, I'm not going to know who's the person who's hot right now and everybody's looking for. And so if that's your thing, you're like, hey, I'm really into sports. Well, maybe start there. Maybe start with, you can kind of know what merchandise is good, what players are good. Maybe you're into video games. Maybe whatever it is that it's your hobby, your interest, the thing you're into. If that's where you put your focus in, not only are you going to have more knowledge there, and really reselling is a knowledge-based business, right? And the reason why we're successful, yes, we have to go out and grind. Yes, we have to go out and source. It's not really luck. It's, opportunity comes up and you have the know-how to actually take on that opportunity. But there's that element of luck. Like, are you going to stumble across the right things? Well, you got to be out there enough for that to happen. But if you're selling things, you're already going to be head and shoulders above everybody else. I remember when I first started reselling, one of the first things I did is just watch some YouTube videos, and it's like, oh, I guess I need to buy this Hawaiian shirt brand and this tie brand. I can't tell you how many hours I spent in a thrift store looking for tie brands because I saw 3 different tie brands that are supposed to be good. And so it's really not, it's important. It's important to start with what you know. And so that way you have that knowledge advantage, right? You've got the advantage over everybody else already. Plus, if it's something you know, it's probably something you're interested in, something you're passionate about. And I heard something today that was interesting. I'd have to pull up the exact words, but the word passion comes from a Greek word and a Latin word. Both, one of them's pathos, one of them is, I can't remember what the Greek one was, but both of them have to do with this idea of suffering. And so passion is something you're willing to kind of suffer for, right? Like it's something you're willing to like put, like, you're willing to have some suffering for something that you're passionate about. And so if you're passionate about something already, going out and hustling for it, taking the pictures, listing it, shipping those things out, answering questions, if it's something you know already, you're more willing to suffer through it than if it's like, I don't really care about these women's shoes. I don't know anything about women's shoes. I'm not passionate about this. So even though I wouldn't say you have to chase your passion, if it's something you already know, you're going to start off further down the line than somebody who's trying to resell something they don't know anything about.
No, agreed. And again, like those items better than most people, right? And I can't tell you how many times I try to get into certain fields and I was like maybe I got too much into it, right? Like you might go and you're like, look, there's 100 of whatever these gadgets and they're so cheap. But if you have no knowledge of it, right, and it's going to take you hours to figure it out and where, how to list it and where to list it and how to ship it and all those things, like it's really hard, especially if you're starting off. Like I would say, if you've been experienced, if you've been, I got a Tim the Slim comment here that I'm gonna bring up. But if you're experienced and you've been doing this for a while, then it's okay to take the risk. But if you're first starting off and you're trying to figure out what do I pick up, I definitely would be careful. A couple comments here. Tim the Slim, you said you can tell Mike is talking. Orlando's totally distracted by chat. Wonder how easy it is to distract them. Well, you won, Tim, because now I picked up your comment. You said, I'm passionate about feeding my family. Bring on the toilet seats. And you know what? Listen, if you can make a life out of selling toilet seats, then go for it.
That's right. Yeah, that's where I'm at too, man. I mean, this is kind of that, like, you got to start. You got to start somewhere. So if you're not sure what to sell, like start with what you know instead of trying to learn something brand new. But yeah, absolutely. Like a lot of people are like, hey, if you're not, they focus so much on the passion side of things where they're like, if you're not passionate about it, if it feels like work, then you shouldn't be doing it. Well, yeah, like Tim says, I'm passionate about feeding my family. I'm passionate about moving forward with my goals. And so whatever that takes to do, like I will do anything it takes in order to do that. Like I found like the best place you could be is to be addicted to success, right? Like that's what I'm passionate about, is succeeding. Cause then it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's like, I just want to succeed at this. I want to be successful. I want to be a successful father. I want to be a successful husband. I want to be a successful family business owner, right? So even if that means the toilet seats, man, I'll sell them. I'll sell them if that's what it takes.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to list them and as long as you're willing to ship them. That's the big deal, right? If you're not, then you're going to run into some problems. Now, this is the other thing that people don't realize, and maybe I should have put like watch YouTube and listen to podcasts before this, but make sure you source based on your geography and your circumstance, right? A lot of people try to emulate what they see on social media. People try to copy, what they catch on Discord. And sometimes it does work. Our own Discord, like we have a lot of good bolos, but I would say some of the bolos that are in there, like we'll never run across those items, right? Just like somebody in the Midwest is not going to run across Rain Spooner Hawaiian shirts, or they're not going to run they're in a town that like no one golfs, so you're not going to run into golf clubs, right? So certain scenarios like that. So you got to figure out what works for you. So don't get into a place where you're like, hey, I want to find those exact items, right? Because what you can do is you can end up having this very narrow, myopic focus, and you start outsourcing, and you're just looking for those items you saw in those videos. But the reality is, like, maybe where you're at, there's a lot of other things. Like I remember when Mike went to Utah, and he talked about all the puff jackets that were out in Utah. He talked about all like the hiking gear and all the snow boots and all that stuff. And guess what? People want that throughout the country. So if you can find that stuff, right, it's in your region and people want it throughout the country, then just source that stuff. Source what is available to you. Source what is plentiful to you. Don't try to copy what other people do. I know for me, the big shift is in San Francisco, like there is not a lot of like summer gear. People don't, again, I keep talking about Hawaiian shirts because that's the easy go to, right? And I would say even like Harley stuff, like you got to be very selective because it's not all worth money, but there's not a lot of it here. And the reason there's not a lot of it here is because thrifting is very big. And so there's curated shops that pick up these items from garage sales or estate sales or even like private sales before you ever get to see them. And so a lot of these items that normally I would end up picking up, I can't pick up. And so I got to adapt and figure out what is good for me here. So for example, I have found here in San Francisco that there is plenty of San Francisco Giant stuff out there, whether it's vintage, whether it's new, whether it's jerseys, whether it's bobbleheads. And that's good. Now, I can't find 49er stuff for whatever reason. I can't find it. And so maybe because they're super popular, I don't know what it is, but I've adapted and gone like, okay, I'm not going to look for that stuff. If I find it, I find it, but I'm going to look for these items. Okay, North Face. North Face is very big here in San Francisco. I see people wearing it all the time. And guess what? I find them in the thrift stores. I find them at estate sales. So I can find those. But let's say you're in, I don't know, let's say Winter Garden, Florida or something, right? You're not going to find those unless somehow like people use them when they go on a trip or something. So you got to be careful about your geography. And then you got to work about your circumstance, right? You got to source according to what is available to you. So for me, when I was in San Diego, it was very easy, right? In San Diego, I was able to source things all the time, every Saturday, because we had garage sales year round. You might be in a town, right, that is super cold, right? And you might be in a town that things are far away. So maybe you have to do eBay arbitrage, right? Maybe you have to source, the bins and you have to pick up a lot in one shot, and that's going to be enough for the rest of the day. So again, it's all about your geography. It's all about what's available, right? That's very, very big. And your circumstance too. The other one is, it depends. Like when I was a full-time teacher, I only sourced on Wednesdays and Saturdays, right? When I was a full-time reseller, I sourced every day pretty much, but Sundays, right? If you have circumstances where you only have a limited window, then you got to find what's available to you. Tim Slim has a great tip here. He says, do a zip code search on sold in your area to cue you into what sells. There you go. Tim, you just killed your market, but that's a great tip right there. I kid. But yeah, I forget about that. The early days when I was sourcing in San Diego, I wanted to know what my competition was picking up, because I always wondered, like when I got to an estate sale the next day or 2 days later, like what did I miss? Then I started seeing all these items. I'm like, wait a second, like these items are out there, right? But the thing is, you don't know 100%. Maybe they get that through special deal they have with somebody across the country. Maybe they get that through eBay arbitrage. But I will say it is a good tip just to find out what is out there. Wow, we got Keola in here too from the Discord. So in case you're wondering about our Discord, we got a vibrant community with tons of individuals. We'll talk about it later. But if you sign up on our Patreon for $5.55, Mike, we're still $5.55 a month. Is that right? For a long time.
That's right. We haven't changed. It's crazy. It's crazy.
And I know
we are inflation proof for now.
We're just lazy about changing the dollar amount. But $5.55 a month. All you have to do is go Pure Hustle Podcast. All you have to do is go patreon.com/Pure Hustle Podcast or go to the link below. And for $5.55 a month, you get to be part of our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord, which has people like Tim the Slim, which has people like Keola, which has people like Secondhand Solo, and tons of other resellers that are thriving. I got to tell you, every time I go in there, I'm encouraged by the bolos. I'm encouraged by Hustle of the Week. I'm encouraged by the questions. I'm encouraged by just the general information. So check us out again, $5.55 a month, patreon.com/Pure Hustle Podcast.
That's right. And I'm sure I'll have to look into it real quick too. Not real quick, but I'll have to look into it and see if there's a way we can kind of lock that in and have like legacy. So for those who have already joined, we don't raise the price on just new people. So I'll have to double check that something. So that might be your cue if you're thinking about joining and you're like, oh man, I want to join before prices do go up. Now's the time on that. Sorry, I had to step away for a minute there, so I missed a lot of what you were talking about with geography, but I think I understand most of what you were saying.
Well, I want to ask you though, how did geography change what you sourced from San Diego to Texas?
Yeah, I mean, that's a big thing. If you're already from an area, you probably don't need to do a ton of research to figure out what's in your area, because it's just the stuff right? Like every time I went into a thrift store when I was in San Diego, I saw Padres stuff, I saw Goals stuff, which is like a minor league hockey team we had. So you see things that are for your area for sure. But then there's also the things that are like very specific. We had rodeo that would come into town, into San Diego, like once a year, and rodeo stuff would sell, more expensively at that time. But there's definitely more rodeo stuff out here in Texas, right? So it really just depends on where you're at. It's like the things you're going to be finding. It's the stuff you're seeing in your thrift stores, right? It's the stuff you're seeing at garage sales. So I think Tim the Slim's comment was good. You definitely need to check the zip codes, figure out what is selling. But the other thing is just what is available to you. Like I almost never found Patagonia in the wild. There are people who are from like the western part of the United States, and they're seeing Patagonia everywhere. So you're just going to source whatever is local to you, and those are the things you're going to be selling. And really, it just comes down to time. Like the more time you're at garage sales and thrift stores, and you're on Facebook Marketplace, the more you're going to realize there were a lot of things I had saved searches for. There were a lot of things I was used to finding at thrift stores. I came out here, I'm not finding those things anymore. I'm finding different things. So I had to learn a couple of new niches. I had to learn things that are more specific to Central Texas. And so absolutely, you got to figure out what works for you in your area. But you probably already have a pretty good idea because those are going to be the things you're exposed to. There's no point in just kind of looking up and trying to see like, hey, I'm going to follow this big, YouTuber, this big whatever, and see what they're selling, because those might not be things that are even available. Like I remember when I first started reselling, it was, I don't even know if she's still doing stuff. I don't really follow, but I think it was Hustle at Home Mom. She had
she's dropping videos all the time still.
Really? So she was selling tons of like Patagonia stuff and Lululemon stuff. I mean, we found Lululemon stuff in San Diego, but like I said, I never found Patagonia. And so it just depends on where you're at. That's the stuff you can't, if I were to say like, I'm only going to be going to thrift stores looking for Patagonia, I would have been in a bad place, because I found some Patagonia in the wild in San Diego, but not the same as like when I went to Colorado. I remember on a road trip and I was doing sourcing, I found a ton of Patagonia. So just, you got to figure out what is valuable in your area. And the only way you're going to know is spending some time, at those thrift stores, scanning stuff and figuring out what you're seeing. And the more you do it, the more you realize. I remember the very first time I looked up a pair of Walmart shoes at a thrift store. And then after the 100th time I saw those, I'm like, oh, these aren't worth anything. And so you just know what's worth stuff and what's not based off of how much time you're seeing those items.
Yeah, no, agreed. So pay attention to your geography. Now, this next one. Click sell-through rate, right? Check sell-through rate. This was a new thing. Like if you have been selling for eBay for a long time, sell-through rate didn't really matter. And some may still argue that it doesn't matter, but I got to tell you, eBay likes seeing sales. eBay likes seeing you constantly moving stuff. And I'm down to 1,900 items now in my store. I was at over 3,000 at one point in time. And now I'm down to that. And I got to tell you, I still feel like the stuff that I picked up a way back that I was going to list it and forget it still is burning my store. Now, I will say I haven't listed as frequently as I need to, and I'm working on that because I got a college tuition I got to pay here, not for myself, but for my kid. And so I'm still working on that, and he's still working on that. But I would say sell-through rate. Now, if you're new, you're like, what is sell-through rate? Sell-through rate is basically you take a look at the solds, and then you take a look at the unsolds. Right. And so let's say you have 10 items that are listed. Right. And then you have 10 items that have sold. Like that's pretty good sell-through rate. Right. But if you end up having, 10 items that have sold and there's 100 of them listed, you're looking at like 10%. Like that's really bad. Like you're not doing too well. But let's say, the really good ones are like, let's say you have 10 items that have sold and over 10 items that are listed and over 100 have sold. Like you're looking at some incredible sell-through rate. So the key number is it should always at least break even, or your number should be better. You should have more sold than listed. Like that is the sweet spot, but that's hard to find, right? That's really tough items, but you got to be careful. Some people would say like, hey, it's 50%. Let's say, there's 10 items sold and 20 items listed. Yeah, 50%, it's okay. But I would just be careful. Let us know in the chat. What are your thoughts on sell-through rate? Because then I get other people that are like, hey, if it's worth a lot of money and you're going to be eventually sell it to the right seller, it's worth picking up. I would say only if it's a big money item. So for example, right now I have like a shirt that I want to sell for $9,000. I have a guitar that I want to sell for $3,000. I think with those items it works, right? But you got to be careful. Yeah, Tim Slim mentioned or if you have a world championship Nintendo shirt, the sell-through rate doesn't matter because you'll actually never sell it. Tim, you might be right. I actually shared that story with somebody the other day. And somebody, I have mentioned that somebody offered me 3,000 for it a few episodes ago. And man, the comments I got for that, like, I can't believe you didn't sell it. I'm telling you, it's the only one in the world.
See, Orlando is part successful reseller, part hoarder. Not hoarder. You
no
just get
lies were told in that
sentimental to
comment.
things. You just get sentimental with some of your items. That's all it is. That's all.
It's true. It is true. It is true. So, anyways, anything you want to add to this check sell-through rate stuff?
Yeah, no, nothing other than the fact that, like, I remember the early days of the podcast, we were really big on slow dime versus fast nickel, and we were willing to wait, and I think a lot of that has changed just because, like, part of it is too, when you become a more successful reseller, you become more knowledgeable, you're able to source, right? Like, even if you're a part-time reseller, you got a full-time job, you're only able to source once or twice a week, you're typically able to source enough to keep whatever it is you're going, right? Like, whatever it is that you've got, I need to make 500 a month, I need to make 1,000 a month, I need to make 15, whatever that number is. When you first start reselling, that's really hard, right? Because you just don't have the knowledge in a ton of fields. You're not 100% sure what's worth it, what's not worth it. And you don't have a very big inventory. But once you start to turn the corner and you have the knowledge, and you go out and you can source and you know where good sourcing spots are, and you've got your saved searches on eBay for eBay arbitrage and Facebook Marketplace and all of those things, and you're able to have a consistent, stuff coming in, you're much better off moving those items as quickly as you can, because you're going to replace them soon, right? Like, you're going to go sourcing, get more items, and you're playing a little bit more with the algorithm, right? Like, you're wanting to make sure, hey, if I can get 10% more sales a month because the eBay algorithm is rewarding my store because I have a quick sell-through rate, it's worth it to you because you're able to source the right items, get them moving, and then they're not sitting on your shelf forever. There's nothing worse than seeing stuff that's been there forever. So yeah, I think that's good.
No, and again, like, Secondhand Solo talks about their store here, says, I will say my store has 410 listings with 311 sold, so that's better. Yeah, and agreed. That's what you want, right? It's because I gotta tell you, you do not want your store way down. Okay, I think there's a battle going on in the chat between who has more sell-through in their store, but we'll just leave it there. All right, let's before we move on, I want to talk about my reseller Genie. So I gotta tell you, it just hit me, like, I still got to do my taxes, right? And I knew that, but October 15th. But some of you, like, are stressed out. Maybe you haven't done your taxes over 2 or 3 years. I've actually met people that do that. That's wild to me. And if you're freaking out and you want to make sure it gets taken care of, right? Because there's only 2 things that are sure in life, right? Death and taxes.
And only Orlando's talking about taxes in June.
That is true. That is true. But you can use my Reseller Genie, Paul and Faith, made by resellers for resellers. It's software that allows you to import all your eBay stuff, all your Poshmark stuff. And on top of that, you're also able to check your profit and loss, put together a Schedule C, all these things that are really beneficial. So if you haven't signed up for my Reseller Genie, use our code Pure Hustle in the link below. You'll get 15% off the first month. Again, use our code Pure Hustle and you'll get 15% off the first month on my Reseller Genie. Okay, this next one. This, I think, has forever changed reselling. And it's a tool I use all the time to figure out what to pick up. And it's Google Lens. Google Lens all the time. Even before, I would say, I don't even check eBay sold comps. I check Google Lens first if I don't know what it is. Like I'll check eBay comps if it's, like, easy for me to type in. But I'm telling you, like, you may be missing out on money because you don't know what it's called. You may put the wrong title on eBay, or you may end up, not finding it sold, but maybe it just got listed. Like, I find Google Lens highly effective. I use it probably, let's say if it was a ratio, I would say for every 10 times I use Google Lens, I only use eBay sold once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would say I'm probably on the other end of that spectrum.
Really?
I use Google Lens a lot, but not nearly as much as I use eBay sold comps. Maybe I'm wasting time. Maybe I need to do an experiment. I typically only use Google Lens. Like, okay, I see a cookie jar and it's got like a Mickey Mouse on it. And it's like, if I just type in Mickey Mouse cookie jar, I'm going to find 1,000 listings. It's going to be hard to find like comps that are my cookie jar. But if I use Google Lens, I'm going to find it. But if it's like, I feel like most of the stuff I'm picking up, whether it's a book, a board game, something with, I use the scan on eBay a lot more. If it's got a the barcode on the thing, I can scan the barcode. A lot of times, and that's another tip. The barcode thing works because you're going to find the comps for the people who had that put in and sold similar with that. But there's a lot of comps for that same item that didn't have that barcode or that ISPN number put in. So those items won't show up. So that will give you the title of the item. Then I might look up that item a little bit more. So I would say I use Google Lens maybe only 1 out of 10 times versus 10 out of every, or 9 out of every 10 times like you do. So I might need to give it a try. I might need to see if Google Lens is faster for me on that.
To me, it is. That's the one tool I use all the time. And then if I think it's worth it, like if I look at people, because the only problem with Google Lens, it's not going to tell you sold comps. It'll just tell you what people are trying to sell it for. But if it's selling for a high amount, then it's worth looking at the comps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
it gives you
over.
Yeah. It gives you the title of the item if nothing else, right?
Okay, so this next one that somebody put in here, which I'm going to go to Travis here. Travis says, talking about my Nintendo World Champ shirt that I try to sell for $9,000, says, the shirt isn't the only one in the world. They literally sell a few times a year. There's a bunch of sales history in Terapeak. Okay, I'm going to trust Travis that he is correct on this one. I haven't done my due diligence on it. I know there's different Nintendo World Champ shirts out there, but there isn't one as special as mine. That's all
because yours is yours, right?
Because it is mine. But
you still have that crazy Freddy Funko, man. Come on, tell that thing.
I do. I put it, it's scary. I put it in the closet of my garage and he's just chilling there. He's been chilling there for like 4 months.
See, my thing is you either need to sell it or you need to display it in the middle of your living room like it's an idol. And then finding a lady is never going to happen for you, Orlando. So you need to just sell it, right? Like, chat, come on, tell him, chat, tell him to sell his stuff. Stop hanging on.
I know. Oh, it's a tough one. Okay, but Terapeak and WorthPoint. So if you are you're at a place and you are looking at something, you can't find those sold comps, right? Or very few, or sometimes you can't even find it on Terapeak. Like there's also WorthPoint that goes a lot further. So the key thing is like you have that now on your phone, right? Back in the day, Terapeak used to be a completely different app. You used to have to go on the website. But actually, if you go on your app, right, and you go to your selling page and then you scroll down, it's right there. It says research, and you click on research and you put in the keywords and then you type it in, and you're gonna get data from at least the last 3 years of comps for an item that's sold, when it's sold, how much it's sold. So definitely check it out. Tim the Slim, thank you. Tim the Slim says, I don't know, if I was a lady, the Funko would be a bonus. Yeah,
but see, Orlando,
thanks,
I don't
Tim.
think you're looking for Lady Tim. I think you're looking for a different kind of lady.
Oh, this show's a wild one. Actually, I love people from our Discord being here. So, anyway, so make sure that you're out there and you are using that. WorthPoint, I would say, when I was in the stage that I was picking up a lot of antiques, which I wasn't a fan of, but there was like a phase I was going through in San Diego where I was going to some really, really rich houses like in La Jolla and Coronado, and I was getting like silver, like plated stuff, and I was getting like, those dish sets and all that stuff again. I remember like I couldn't find it on Terapeak, but I for sure could find it on WorthPoint, right? WorthPoint is the go-to. So definitely check it out. It's again, WorthPoint has not sponsored us. They are good friends of the podcast, but I think it's a great tool. But Terapeak is your go-to first and foremost. It's getting wild there in the chat. Mike, you got more to add here?
No, I think that's good. I mean, Terapeak is also really good for just market research, right? Because certain items are going to sell better at certain times of the year. You might have an item that you're holding on to, or you might like maybe you're a new seller and you're like gotten into some Christmas stuff and you're like, I don't know, when is this going to sell? It's like June. Like, is this the right time? Those might be the items to look on Terapeak to say like, hey, do you just use the sold comps right now and like give it away, or do you like wait and see like, hey, if I actually wait till like November, this thing sells for almost twice as much, right? So that might be a time when you use Terapeak as well, just to kind of do that market research of like, when is the market right for these items?
Agreed. All right, hey, it's time for our next segment. But before we jump into our next segment, if you haven't been following us on social media. We are Pure Hustle Podcast on all platforms except X. We are Pure Hustle Cast. Every once in a while, we will drop a story. We'll drop a new video. So make sure to check us out on social media. You can also, if you're listening to a podcast for the first time, or you've been listening for a while and you haven't jumped over to YouTube, come on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, hit that bell notification. My goal is to be at 10,000 subs by the end of the year, because once we get 10,000 subs, that we're going to start dropping merch. We're going to start dropping more opportunities to get goods. So join us over on YouTube. If you haven't yet, shoot us an email about
by the way, that's not our way of saying tell your friends, tell your Aunt Rebecca you haven't talked to in 6 years to come on over to our YouTube and like and subscribe. Just tell everybody. That we're not saying that. We're not begging. We're not begging you to tell people to come on over and like and subscribe. But if you want to do it without us begging for it, that'd be great. Because the sooner we get to 10,000, man, it's gonna be a game changer.
It will be a game changer. All right. Also, if you haven't had a Hustle of the Week on the show, but you got something you want to share, shoot us an email, purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. And again, grateful for everyone that jumps on over to iTunes reviews and leave us an iTunes review. We haven't had a few in a little while. We are the #1 reselling on eBay podcast and also the most reviewed reselling podcast. And we'd love to keep it that way. We're on the march to 1,000 reviews. We're about 811, but for reselling, I'll take it. There's not a lot of people that have over 800 reviews, and that's because of all of you. So thank you, everyone, for all your support. All right. Are we ready to talk about some Hustle of the Week?
That's right. Nope, I'm not gonna do that one.
Come on,
that's the wrong one because it's long. It's so long. It's this one.
Come on. No, you gotta play it. Go back. All right, let's take a vote in the chat. We got that one, and then let's play the other one. Let's take a vote.
All right,
so,
I'm not.
Option 1, the shorter one, or option 2? Let us know in the chat. So,
OG. See, look at that. OG.
First one. Yeah, I kind of dig. See, somebody digs the second one. See,
all right. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a new one. For the for that. But I like that I made the Hustle of the Week. Come on, hustlers. I made that one. It was our bolo that a listener submitted. Speaking of which, we haven't gotten one of those in a long time, where like a listener has submitted even phone calls, man. Do we still have our phone number? Did you get that fixed?
We got to fix it.
Okay, well, maybe I don't know. Send us an email. Send us an email with like a voice attached to it, or like if you want to send us some audio, we'll throw it on the podcast, man. Or even artwork. We've got some creative people out there. We'd love to throw that stuff up. All right, so our first hustle.
Somebody said Jazzy, and then Killa says I need music videos from both people to make a decision. Music videos. So.
Yeah, maybe I would say I would end the podcast with the pirate one, but that one has a countdown, so that doesn't really work for ending the podcast. But I like our pirate intro too. That's fun.
Now I do want to let you guys all know we do have a music video. It's a Q4 rap. So if you type in Pure Hustle Podcast Q4 rap, you will be surprised if you're brand new to the podcast.
That's right. So, and that was us. That was 100% us.
That 100%. That was before AI.
We wrote the lyrics.
Yes.
We made the music video.
Hours. Mike and I got mad at each other because I'm like, come on, man, look at the hours we're spending, and then the finished product.
Well, if you could just figure out how to flow, man. I figured you had some flow.
It was kind of brutal. So
all right. So our first hustle of the week comes from Salad Sauce. I love that name, from the Discord. So it says, we buy a lot of DVDs and other media. I picked this up at a library sale for $3 and sold it in less than 24 hours. I watched it first, of course, and it wasn't half bad. So sold a rare MTV Downtown, the animated series promo DVD, not for sale, 13 episodes, and it was for $219.99 is what he sold it for. Interesting. So it was a promo show, MTV Downtown, the animated series. Interesting. Very
Right?
good. I mean, to
I
go
love
from
those
$3
kind of
to
sales.
$2.19, plus you got to watch it, right? I'm not saying you should have burned it for yourself, like a copy. Maybe you'd have to really, really like it to do that. But
Remember that old Nero software that you used to have to get on your computer? Do you remember that? That was maybe I'm too old.
yeah. No, of course, yeah.
But yeah, I remember like I was at my school and I was like, I want to make sure all our history department DVDs are preserved, and so I downloaded Nero and I just I shouldn't say all this, but anyways, they were used for educational use, and so it was all good. It was all good. Okay,
All good.
all right. Let's go, let's go to secondhand solo here for our second hustle of the week. What's up, secondhand solo? I see you in the chat. I know you're waiting. You said you went to Goodwill next to work. I wonder where that is because you and I used to live in the same area. Prices on clubs, so golf clubs at this location are pretty reasonable, but I caught him slipping a bit on this one. Cha-ching. While drafting this listing, I originally had it at $70, but decided to raise the price at the last minute. I'm glad I did because it sold within 30 minutes at full asking price. I was stoked for sure. Sold an Odyssey Metal X2 right-hand putter for $100 plus ship. And there you
Nice.
have it. There was that 30 minutes.
Yeah,
30
and I'm glad.
minutes.
And you took the gamble of going from 70 up to 100. Like if it sold at 100 plus shipping within 30 minutes, it would have sold at 70, and you'd have always had that question in the back of your head: should I have changed the price? Should I not? Especially when it sells fast, because even at 100, you might have been like, could I have asked for more? Because we want fast sell through rate, and we talked about sell through rate on this episode. But when the sell through rate is under an hour, you always wonder, could I ask more? Could I?
Yeah. No, I mean 30 minutes. Yeah, right. Second and solo. What if you could have sold it for double? That's all I'm saying. But who knows? Who knows? Who knows? All right, Mike. What's the next one here?
All right. So our next one comes from Miss Maven from the Discord. Again, all these Discord hustles of the week, man. Our Discord is fire. So Maven says, I lucked out and got an older ladies collection of gourmet magazines, which she had collected since the 1960s. It's now discontinued. She had a lot of them professionally bound, and she had indexes, which are kind of rare. They've been selling very well. I paid $10 for the entire collection at a church rummage sale. Sold gourmet magazine The Good Living from 1967 to 1969 for $135 plus shipping. So from $10 to $135. And magazines are great. That's one of those things that you can get stuck on with media mail. Like if we've talked about that in the past, you can't a lot of times do comic books or magazines media mail because they've got advertisements in them. But the shipping on those probably still not too bad, even with the bound magazines. I've sold quite a bit of collections of magazines. There's been a lot of magazines I've looked at to buy myself, and like you go on eBay and you're like, man, this is a market I should be in. So fantastic find. And yeah, you never know. Sometimes older magazines, especially if you've got an entire collection, right? If it's like there's one magazine and then a few months later another another of the series, it might not be worth as much, but 1967 to 1969, so for several years, that's really good.
No, that is again something I would have easily looked over. So again, part of joining the Discord is you get a chance to jump onto all these hustle of the weekend bolos. All right, is that all? Yeah, it's all of them. Okay,
That's
except
it
for you hours. Do you have one?
hours. Yeah, and this kind of goes back to an earlier point you made, which was to know your region. What should you be picking up? What should you be buying, right? Well, one of the things you should be buying is the stuff that sells in your area because that's what you have access to. And luckily, moving to Central Texas, moving to Texas in general, barbecue and smoking meats, it's a totally different world here than in California, right? Like some people barbecue, which means that you have a grill and then they grill some meat. It's very different out here. People are smoking on wood. They're smoking with charcoal. Like it's a very different thing. And one of the things I've learned about is some smoking stuff and smoking meats. And there's a brand called Weber. It's pretty common. It's a big box kind of brand, but they're still very valuable. The Weber Kettle Grill is a charcoal grill. It's like 22 inches long or 22 inch diameter, and it's a really good charcoal grill. Like if you just wanted a charcoal grill, the Weber Kettle I would say is probably the one most people are going to. Like that's like kind of the industry standard. Hey, I just want a charcoal grill in my backyard. I want to grill up some meat. And they sell, depending on the time of year and what kind of sales are going, anywhere from like $250 $150 to $300, sometimes as low as like 200, maybe 175. You get a really good deal on one, but they're good grills. And it's just a kettle grill. It's like an old fashioned, like you can go to Walmart and get one for $50, but it's not a Weber, right? Like Weber's a good brand. They've got good metal. It's like a good solid grill. Anyways, I found one at a garage sale, and you find a whole lot more of that kind of stuff out here. And so I found one out here as one of the newer Weber 22s, and I was able to get it for $20. I talked them down, $20, and I sold it locally again because I know my area. I know people are grilling all the time out here. So if I was still in San Diego, a Weber kettle grill might sit forever on Facebook Marketplace. I don't know. Maybe they're still popular there, but not like they are here. And so I was able to pick it up for $20 and sell it for $100 same day on Facebook Marketplace. So to go from 20 to 100 same day, I didn't have to ship. I didn't have to worry about listing it on eBay. Listing on Facebook Marketplace is just so fast. I mean, you could just kind of type things in. It's not, you don't have to put all these item specifics, and it's a really quick process. And it was a quick sale, right? So to go from 20 to 100 and just like that, it was a no-brainer for me. I almost kept it for myself, but I already have a pellet grill and a smoker. So I was like, I can't do a charcoal kettle grill too. Maybe eventually.
Yeah, great tip here from Zeke. Zeke says the Weber kettle grills have gone up in price in stores. I see them out on the curb. Take the time to clean it out and sell it locally. Sells within 2 days. So yeah, I agree. Like that's a good thing. And again, local, just nice. So my my hustle of the week, which I got to tell you, I remember I had talked about the Goodwill bins, how terrible they were out here, which I still think, San Diego, I don't know how I need to go to the San Francisco ones, but I haven't gone to the San Diego ones. I've gone to the San Diego ones. I haven't gone to the San Francisco ones. And I remember I went to the bins and there was nothing, but I went behind the counter and I saw a Sanrio sweatshirt. It was like Sanrio Good Life. So, think like Hello Kitty, the frog thing, whatever. I don't know. Karapi, I think it's called. And I saw the sweater with new tags and they wanted $20 for it. And I'm like, I wonder if that's worth anything. Cause there is a big following on those things. It's not my normal cup of tea. I don't frequent the Sanrio shop, but I do know that people like those items. And I looked it up and there were comps for 150, 180. And so I picked it up for $20 and I listed on eBay and it sold for $180 plus ship. And again, it's a reminder to me, like when you're sourcing, like, yeah, there may be the bins, but sometimes the stuff behind the glass, if you can get a good deal or something behind the counter, like it's worth investigating because yeah, they are curated. Yeah, it's stuff that the team sources and thinks they can get more money for. But in the end, sometimes they miss it. And I definitely think on this one, they missed it. And I was able to take advantage and make that $180 sale. So those are our hustle of the weeks. Go ahead.
That's good. I was going to say that Sanrio, that Hello Kitty stuff, that there's a following for that. It's like a cult following. It's pretty wild. Something we have never talked about on the podcast, but also as a cult following like Sanrio is the My Little Pony stuff. We've talked about
we've talked about it.
We've talked about horses, right? We've talked about the
bronies.
But have we talked about bronies and like My Little Pony? And
yeah, we did. Oh. Yeah, because we've had some hustles of the week about them. Yeah, It's been 456 episodes. So
yeah, forgive me. I've got a good memory, but man, I wonder what it'd be like to binge all 456 and like listen to some of the stories. Like, how often do we tell certain stories or not tell others? Like, oh, I totally forgot about that. It'd be crazy. It's always interesting when I hear people say like, just found your podcast. I've already made it to episode 200. And I'm like, man, what a wild ride that must be.
I know. And maybe, I know Gary Vee at one time talked about taking all his content and then establishing a search database where like anything you want to hear, you can find in like any of his YouTube channel. I think we'll eventually be able to do that with AI with our podcast. You think?
Maybe it's just a lot to upload. I mean, you got to figure 456 episodes plus probably another 50 to 60 YouTube videos that aren't labeled episodes and other content that we have. Uploading all of that and then going through eBay or AI, it'd probably still be like a month of like solid work. So who knows? Maybe one day.
Tim says if somebody did listen to them, that's 19 24-hour days.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, the crazy thing, I don't know if you've like got in there how many like hours we have, because I don't know if that's assuming an hour per episode, but some of our early episodes were like 3 hours long. Didn't we have some like 3-hour episodes?
In the early days, we used to get crazy.
We had, like,
I
2-hour
remember those,
episodes.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And I remember I started feeling guilty like when we started going down for an hour and a half. But then what we did is we saw like our view rate and our listen rate started going down. And we're like, okay, maybe people like the episodes, but they don't like it that much to be listening 3 hours. We're not Joe Rogan or anything. So it is what it is. All right. So how else do you know what to pick up? And this is the one that I've mentioned many times. I think you should be listening to podcasts and YouTube videos. I mean, even here, the things we talked about, right? The hustle of the week, like those are items to be looking out for. What are you gonna say, Mike?
No, I mean, that's right. Like, we're already talking about kind of podcasts, right? Like that kind of goes right in line with, we're all consuming content, right? Like even if you're not like a hardcore podcaster or like hardcore on YouTube. I mean, maybe you're listening to Pure Hustle podcast, so you're probably kind of a podcaster, but everybody's consuming content. Like if you're on social media, you're on TikTok, you're on Facebook Reels, like everybody's consuming content. But most of the content people are consuming is just a waste of time. Like some people it's like all fitness content. That's good. Some people it's all theological content or like science-based content or math-based content or engineering. But a lot of times it's just like waste of time. Like, haha, look at that duck following a dog. Haha, look at that giraffe like walking around. And it's like, yeah, if you're going to already be consuming content, you might as well make that content focus on the thing it is that you are trying to improve in your life. That could be fitness. That could be theological. That could be work-based. You're a salesman at a job or you're in education or whatever it is. Like you should be consuming content that is making your life more fulfilled, that is making your chances of being successful better. Look, this whole world is like it's just a knowledge game, right? Like, do you have the knowledge? And then the second half of it is, can you act on that knowledge? And a lot of people, I've just determined this in life with so many things. Like there are some people who just have like raw talent, like for instance, athletes. There are some people, like think about Orlando, you work with students, like you know this firsthand, you've seen this too. There are some kids, they just have like a raw talent and ability, but they just don't have the work ethic. And then there's some kids that just have insane work ethic, but they just don't have that, like, they just don't have that, maybe it's genetic potential or whatever it is, right? Like there's a lot of people who have one and not the other. And in this life, in any field, and I think reselling is absolutely one of those, once you combine, I've got the knowledge, so that's almost like, one aspect of it, and I've got the willingness to like work and put that knowledge to use, holy cow, you're going to be unstoppable. And so a lot of people are out here grinding on resale and they're just missing a lot of knowledge. Maybe they're putting in like just crazy amount of work, and if they just knew like 10% more, they'd be 40% more effective. They'd be making way more sales because they'd be seeing things. They're already missing things at thrift stores and garage sales. Maybe they're losing 37 cents per item they're shipping because they're shipping it wrong. Like, who knows? And it's like if they just gained a little bit more knowledge. It's like if you got to have both of those things. You've got to have the hustle and the work ethic, but you also have to have the knowledge. And the best way you can gain that knowledge is there's just so much content that's free. There's so much out there. Like you can get basically a PhD level in reselling just from watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, and being part of communities. Like those things completely change the game if you're willing to put in the work.
All right, I want to shout out Mike through a listener here. It says, Rhythm J says, I want to say this to Mike. I like the way you think. When I was in middle school, I had a teacher who to this day I always think of because he spoke the same way you did, always motivating us. Mike,
Yes.
Thank you. And you motivate me. I got so I get the privilege of speaking to Mike off the podcast when he decides to be friends with me. And when we chat, like it is good. It's good. And I would always say find people like that in your life. The unfortunate thing is this is the only time Mike and I really talk anymore, but it is what it is, right? We're in that stage in life. But yeah, so definitely find ways, find that category, right? So talk about niches is the next thing is, on YouTube, if you want to niche down, there's people that just deal with glass. There's people that just do vintage toys. There's people that just do like car parts. There's people that do clothing. Like find that niche and do that niche really well. One of the first pieces of advice that Craigslist Hunter, who I think is one of the best resellers out there, we've had on the podcast, I don't know, episode, whatever it was, way back in the day when we did interviews, he had mentioned like one of his top tips was like, hey, get to learn like one or two niches every year. And so you are expanding your knowledge. And I would say that is very true. That's going to help you learn what to pick up. I mean, there's times I don't search comps. Like I just go and I just pick up stuff because I already have been in that category or that niche for so long. I know exactly what to pick up. So
well, and it's crazy too because like you think like I still sometimes consider myself like the newbie reseller on the podcast because just you have more experience and I'll never be able to catch up, right? Like there's not going to be a point where it's like unless you stop reselling that I will have been reselling as long as you. But I just saw a thing on our YouTube analytics where it's like, congratulations, your channel has been active for 7 years, right? So I think back to like what Craigslist Hunter said, and a lot of times people try and do too much at one time. They're like, hey, I want to learn about everything. It's like, okay, go back to what we said at the beginning of the episode. Start with what you know. You're like, hey, I'm a sports guy and I really like whatever. Like for me, it's board games. Like I know board games. I know certain technology and electronics. Like I know photography a little bit, videography. I know more. I know some tech stuff. Like there's certain things I just knew about already before I started reselling. And so those are the areas I started. So maybe you start with kind of 2 or 3. You spend a year and you really dial in those niches. Like you know those things. Think about it, 7 years. If we learn 2 new niches, and I've kind of done this. I mean, some years it's only 1, but it's like, okay, 7 years times 2, that's 14. It almost seems like yesterday that we started this, right? So it's like, imagine you knew 14 more things. Like I've learned a lot about hand tools. I've learned about ham radio. I've learned about just so many different things that started to even, go through. But it's like, okay, in 7 years it's going to happen no matter what. That's 14 new things. If you're like, hey, by the end of 7 years, I'm going to know 14 niches pretty darn well versus, hey, this year I'm just starting out or I'm, want to up my reselling. So now I'm going to learn about watches and I want to learn about VCRs and I want to learn about cards and I want to learn about sports and I want to learn. It's too much, right? You're going to go an inch deep and a mile wide. It's better to really drill down and figure out. I mean, if you get, think about that 80-20 rule, like as long as you know 20% of a niche, you're going to get 80% of the benefits out of it. It's going to be the people who are like willing to put in the crazy amount of work that's going to get that other 20%. But a lot of times it's not even worth it, right? If you're like, well, you can go really, really deep and then you're going to maybe be into the extreme collectibles of it. But for the most part, you only need to know 20% of something in order to get 80% of the benefits. And so spend the time and get the 20% in one thing and then move on to the next thing and make sure you kind of keep that honed. And if you realize like, hey, I spent a bunch of time learning VCRs and after 7 years, I'm not selling VCRs anymore. Okay, let that one go. But pick up another one, right? Like it's going to happen, but specialize in something and start small. Start with 1 or 2. There are a lot of successful people like in our Discord that all they do for the most part, like their main source of income is, the putters or the golf stuff like Keola, or you got people who are into media, or you got people who are into like trading cards, or you got people. So there's some people it's like they don't need to know anymore. Like they're specialized in their 1 or 2 that's so successful. But if you're just an everything reseller like we are for the most part, just know a couple to start with. That's enough. The time is going to pass. You're going to be able to make enough money off knowing a handful of things. You don't need to know about women's shoes and men's, accessories and all of that stuff day one. That stuff is going to come with time, but start with 1 or 2 things. Know 20% of like when I say 20% doesn't mean like nothing, but like get the main 20%. What are the main brands? What am I seeing in my area? What are the comps going for? What are the ones that are selling the most? What has the best sell-through rate? You don't need to know about like, well, in 1973, there was this one version. You don't have to know all of that stuff, but know enough to be successful in that niche before you start learning another one.
Agreed. All right. So moving here to our next one, and one of our last ones is join a Discord group. We're not trying to sell our Discord group, but there's plenty out there, right? Or join a Bolo group. Like if you really don't.
Hey, we're not again. We're not shilling ours, but I'm gonna throw the banner up. Like you don't have to join our Discord, but join our Discord. You know what I'm saying?
But Mike and I used to be anti-Discord back in the day until we decided to do our own. But we used to be like, hey, you can research stuff on your own. You can find whatever you need. But I gotta tell you, like right now, if you're really busy in life and you're a part-time reseller, like Discord's great for you. Right, I would say even if you're a full-time reseller, and we're not like the only game in town. There's great Discords out there. Some cost way more. We may be the cheapest game in town. I am pretty sure, but there may be some out there that are doing really, really well. And so check them out. Would love for you guys to join our Discord through Patreon. But there's a place where you can find out what to look for. There's a place that you can find out, what are going to be the issue. You can ask people questions like while you're sourcing too. Sometimes people will be able to answer. So definitely check out the Discord. And so Mike and I want to end on this last one. Make sure that you determine that whatever you pick up, you're going to list. And I know that sounds very, very basic, but I really do believe this causes a lot of problems for resellers. They become not resellers, they become hoarders because they pick up all these items and then death piles begin to develop because, hey, they don't want to list it, they don't want to ship it, and then they keep sourcing. They're like, oh, this is really valuable, I need to source this, and then they take it home and they never do anything with it, right? So you need to be very careful. Like, so when deciding what to pick up, make sure it's something you know you're going to list, and you make sure you know it's something that you're willing to ship. That's going to make sure that you are not throwing money away by picking up a bunch of stuff and never listing. Right now, I have totes full of stuff that I've never listed. Right, it's crazy. And why? Well, some of it's from estate clean out, some of it is from stuff I did source, but you got to really be careful about that. Mike, you want to add a little more to that?
No, I think you nailed it. You nailed it there. One thing I do want to say before we go, though, since it came up in the chat, I want to reward the people who are coming on over. They hit that bell notification. They know when we're going live, right? Since people brought it up in the chat, we're gonna end the episode instead of the epic garage sale song. It's going to be the pirate countdown. So even though there's a countdown, it's a countdown to the end. So make sure to stick around. And while it's playing, you got to promise me, though, if you're watching right now, you're watching this, you got to stick around to the end of it, and you got to hit the like, subscribe, bell notification if you haven't already.
All right. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling late.
Peace.
We set sail on a misty morn with treasures in our hand, seeking gold in dusty boxes from the land. From yard to yard we search and scrounge, a reseller's gleeful quest, looking for the gems hidden amongst the rest. Oh, oh, and away we go, Pure Hustle Podcast, from yard to yard, flipping items fast. With each find we make our spirits soar, as we flip the treasures and hear that cash floor roar. We walk the aisles of thrift stores old like sorcerers of trade, discerning what is pure gold and what should just be suede. From vintage clothes to old guitars, the jury's out to say, we'll polish up the rough and sell them top dollar.